So, obviously, stereotype is just a general belief of characteristics held about groups of people or anything within the world. And the reason that we have them, it really makes sense is because it helps us to survive. And, everything that we do, everything living things do is energy expensive. That's why we have to eat. That's why we have to drink water to keep things moving around our bodies, to keep ourselves, moist enough for things to get from point A to point B. We work like a machine. But one of the costs of our brains, one of the costs of our high intelligence is that that's very energy expensive. And so stereotypes are basically like a shortcut for our brain to make quick cognitive, recognitions. So it could be a lion in the wilderness. Well, you're going to want to instantly know that that lion could kill you. You're going to want to instantly know that this sand or this sinkhole is bad to build on. You're going to want to instantly know that, oh, this tree has good fruit. This kind of fruit is good to eat. This path leads to water. So again, it's really not all bad. It's how our minds work with everything that we do. It's shortcuts and ways for us to just, again, quickly make sense out of the world. But because we're more socially advanced creatures, again, it can lead into social issues. Because again, stereotypes in and of themselves may not necessarily be negative, but they can lead to negative, consequences within society because we kind of label groups of people certain ways, which can cut them off from different opportunities and what have you. So again, it's an evolutionary thing that helps us to recognize danger, recognize what's good for us. And again, you got to think too, civilization itself is very new. Prehistory is human beings have been around for much longer than the written language and much longer than agriculture and people living in towns and villages. So being small hunter-gatherer or just nomadic groups of people, stereotypes also, again, associating another tribe as bad or negative when you're in small tribal groups may not be an all bad thing. Again, you got to think about how much life has changed throughout civilization. But now that civilization and society is so much larger and more complex, our tribal thinking, again, can lead to issues because stereotypes can lead to prejudice, and prejudice can then lead to discrimination. So that's kind of the three-step prong right there. It's prejudice. No. I'm sorry. I've been smoking. So the first one, stereotype, prejudice, discrimination. So that's how we go. And then also confirmation bias is ignoring information that challenges our beliefs while actively searching for information that confirms what we believe. So this is, again, just kind of how our minds work, why our minds work that way. Without our minds, kind of having stereotypical thinking, again, it's not just about people, it's about interacting with the world around us. We wouldn't be able to engage and survive as easily, and it would be much more energy expensive to the body. We would need to eat even more, consume even more nutrients than we do now. So a couple more last points, and then we're going to get into common tropes, common stereotypes from around the world about different groups of people and kind of where they came from. And, just kind of looking into how this goes from survival and how this can go to causing issues in society. So again, we talked about our brains aiming to connect us to the familiar, and that can be unhealthy, though. That's some of why we remain in toxic relationships or have a propensity to be in toxic relationships. Some of us, perhaps why we run back to unhealthy forms of self-medication. Maybe abuse of different substances or abuse of whatever the vice is, and unhealthy living patterns and ways of thinking. We're creatures of habit. So it all really ties into the same thing. But again, it's stereotypes, prejudice, discrimination, which leads to all the isms, the racism, the sexism, the homophobia, the transphobia, the nationalism, xenophobia, religious zealotry. It all stems from there. So let's talk a little bit about the common stereotypes from around the world. I'm going to run through some of these, and then we're going to close out today's episode.